Explain to those of you who joined late, I apologize for my appearance as a rusticant. Mrs. Lavender and I have moved into this tent. Kendall knows this already because she's in my science fiction class. But my daughter's family left their home in Mexico to come, and they're quarantining in our house across the road. So I'm actually in this kind of glamping tent. We're entering week 3. Hopefully we'll be able to move out pretty soon. I can shave and stuff. What I want to do with you guys for the next 2 weeks, did this with Group A. It worked out really well. I had good participation. Is that I want to talk about taking an initial pass at a college application essay. I'm going to show you some stuff that's on Schoology, some resources that I hope you guys can see because, you know, we've switched this stuff into, we try to create different groups because Junior STEM is pretty much, it's actually over for, just came on, whoops. After these 2 weeks, you're done with Junior STEM. So this is all you really have to do. And basically the only requirement here for these next 2 weeks is for you guys to make a pass at one draft of a college application essay and then meet with me individually to go over that. That's it. I had several students from Group A met with me a couple of times, gave me a couple of drafts. If that's what you want to do, that's fine too. But the application essay, most of you guys are going to need at least 2 pretty strong essays. This draft that we're working on now is totally practice. It doesn't matter if it's a terrible essay, if it's a great essay, that's great. I'm really not concerned about quality. This is a participation grade. You guys, just by doing this, are going to get full credit for it. You know, regardless of how strong your essay is or not. But it's going to give me a chance to sit down with Nate or sit down with River or sit down with JP and say, hey, this is really working well. It's a, you know, this is something you want to tinker with. The college application essay next fall, most of you are going to be in AP Lang, right? Yeah, yeah. So, and we have plenty of time. We shamelessly double dip for that first quarter and a half of the year. AP Lang's charge, unlike AP Lit, which is, you know, a course in literary analysis, AP Lang is a course in rhetoric, and rhetoric's nothing more than the art of persuasion. So our charge is to consider a range of rhetorical modes. We start with the personal narrative. We read a lot of professional personal narratives. I'm actually going to ask you guys to read one for Thursday, which I'll get to in a second. And then we, our first several assignments next fall are going to be working on the same kind of essay that you're going to be working on now. It's just really helpful to get a start because hopefully once this, you know, this global pandemic, once the curve gets flattened, you know, these restrictions lift, you guys will have some pretty interesting summers or interesting experiences this summer. Of course, even the experience of COVID-19 and, you know, sheltering in place and whatnot. You know, so having written one essay and getting a sense of the potential shape of a college application essay, my hope is that you guys will be, you know, on the lookout this summer for things that, wow, that would make a great essay topic. Because again, most of you are going to need, you're going to need several application essays. Even if Boulder, let's say, and I'll show you the Boulder prompt here in a second, even if Boulder is a financial or academic backup for you, Boulder requires 2 essays. Now, these essays are very, very short. I have posted on, let me share this just a second. Let me get to this first. Can you guys all see that? Yeah, pretty much. Okay. This is on the Junior STEM webpage. This is a folder that has resources for the application essay. And what I've posted here, if it'll come up, my computer's a little slow because I'm in a tent and my internet connection is not as robust as it could be. On this college essay workshop, which we're going to look at in a second here, just parts of it, you guys can shuffle through there. It's a dated document. And it's something I've used for Senior STEM over the years. There are some things that the workshop asks you to do. You don't have to do any of those. There's a link to the common application essay prompts. There's a CU Boulder prompt. We'll look at those. And then this essay, a hanging. How many of you guys have read, did you guys have Jones for English? Anyone know? Have you guys read much George Orwell? This is a short essay. It's not as short, unfortunately, as your essay is going to be, but it's a personal narrative, shares a lot with a short story. And I just like the hanging, A, because it's a really good essay, and B, because it's a really functional shape for a college application essay, which is something that is very narrative. It tells a story. And the only real difference between it and a short story is that A, the first person I is perceived to be you, not some unnamed first person narrator. Let me get landed in here. And at one point, usually when you read a short story, like the short stories you read back freshman year or something, like the lottery or something, you had to figure out the big idea. In a personal narrative, which is a story, at some point, usually about 3/4 of the way through, you're going to step back and say, it wasn't until then that I realized the importance of, and you're going to explicitly state what the big idea of your essay is, and you go back, close out the story. This will become more, more, let me get back to this. It's become more obvious as we look at this. So first thing you guys need to do is think about what are the stories that you can tell about yourself. I'll often, cast it as, let's say Rivers at a party, right? And there's some cute girl from out of town that he's, he kind of likes, and he wants her to like him. What are the stories you tell other people about yourself to get them to find you kind of engaging and compelling and interesting? And these are the kind of stories we want to tell colleges. The application essay, again, is just one tile in this overall mosaic we're going to create with your overall application in an effort to create as compelling as possible a story about you. Again, you guys are going to be up against other applicants to colleges who have, the same GPA, they have, the same board scores, they have the same extracurriculars. What differentiates you from other applicants is going to be your council report, which we'll be working on. That was all that stuff we did last 2 weeks were together, the resume and the self-reflection and whatnot. Your letters of rec from your teachers, and especially your essays, which are really a chance, more than anything else, more than the story you tell. And it doesn't have to be this huge story or this really important or significant event. It can be fairly minor. Brooke can just, write about sitting there at a, with the Talking Gourds people at a particular poetry reading or something. I know we want something small, but something that allows us to convey something significant about you in a really appealing and compelling way. It's a chance for colleges to hear you speak. So that's what we're trying to do with the application essay. So this, and we're not going to look at this whole document. But this is the college essay workshop. I wish I could save. This is college essay workshop that you guys can go through the whole thing. Let me get, you can all see this, right? Yeah, here's, this is the idea. Okay, there's the guy, he starts writing and then ends up, and so yourself poured into words, poured onto the page, right? Where is this? I know students, I'm just going to read some of this. We're not going to read all of it. Your college application essay is probably the most important essay you'll write during your high school career. Oops. I say this not to ratchet up the pressure on you, but rather to emphasize that unlike many of the essays you may have written over the past few years, this is not one that you can toss off the night before it's due. That's why we're doing this here in the spring, to really kind of get us set up early for what we'll be working on next fall. Indeed, the purpose of this workshop, and we're of course not doing a workshop, is not to get each of you to produce a polished draft of an essay that's ready to send off. Rather, I simply want to get you started on this important process. My intent today, and this was a one-day workshop, but forget it. My intent for these 2 weeks is to spend some time familiarizing you with the application essay, its audience, its purpose, and some generative strategies that you might find useful. Each of you is required to produce one draft, meet with me to discuss it later these 2 weeks. We'll do an individual Zoom thing during second period next week or doing tutorials. My hope is that the ideas we discussed today and during your conference with me will percolate over the summer, and that some of you might even take it upon yourselves to run your ideas through a few more drafts. Those of you who will find yourself in a much better place next fall when those application deadlines begin to loom large and the pressure kicks in for real. There's no pressure now. You guys are in good shape. One thing I like about the work on these application essays is oftentimes it's the first essay that students really care about. I mean, who cares about writing about I don't know, The Great Gatsby or something? Or this is an essay that they tend to be fun to write. They should be fun. An essay that's fun for you to read, or to write rather, is fun for your reader to read. But it's also an essay that allows me to talk to you guys about the way you shape sentences and stuff. And for the first time, often, not always, but you really care, which is great. So as from a teacher standpoint, I really like these. Audience and purpose. How many of you guys haven't read Gatsby, have you? You've probably seen the movie. He smiled, this is a quote from Fitzgerald's novel, he smiled understandingly, much more than understandingly. It was one of those rare smiles with a quality of internal reassurance in it that you may come across 4 or 5 times in a life. It faced, or seemed to face, the whole external world for an instant, then concentrated on you with an irresistible prejudice in your favor. It understood you just as far as you wanted to be understood, believed in you as you would like to believe in yourself, and assured you that it had precisely the impression of you that, at your best, you hope to convey. Keep in mind, I'm just going to read this stuff and then we'll switch to the prompts. Keep in mind that these days you're up against other applicants to the same colleges and universities who have similar SAT scores, who have burnished their high school transcripts in much the way you have, and who offer a range of extracurriculars, clubs, student government, team sports, survey activities, and travel that will very possibly mirror what you yourself have done in the past few years. While your background may well make you worthy of acceptance, it's a simple fact that currently the most competitive colleges and universities find themselves faced with more strong applicants than they have room for. As such, your college essay presents a valuable opportunity to differentiate yourself from other equally admittable applicants. The best and perhaps only way to do this is to use the essay to present your unique self. Whoops, Miley's back. Sorry. Sorry about that, Miley. You need to write an essay that reveals what makes you at your very best. In short, you need to write an essay that bestows upon you the same glowing beneficence of Gatsby's smile. The purpose of your essay, therefore, is to write in such a way that reveals your true self, in a way that reveals a living, breathing, thinking individual to your reader. Ideally, this is an individual and a voice who will appeal to the particular sensibilities of the admissions committee. Frankly, however, you have no control over this, so don't sweat it. If you write what they think you want to, if you write what you think they want to read, you're doomed. You got to be authentic. You got to be genuine. If, by contrast, you write first and foremost for yourself, with the goal of letting the admissions committee hear the unique rhythms of your voice at its very best, you have a much better shot at making the application leap out of the pile. To do this, you must force yourself to be as authentic, as genuine as possible. Believe it or not, after 3 years of the sort of leaden prose that most essay assignments have invited you to produce, this approach can be both liberating and a heck of a lot of fun. So here's what the college essay is not. The college essay is not meant to be a laundry list of all your many accomplishments. There's plenty of room elsewhere on the application to highlight those many accomplishments. And that's going to be in your activities list, on your Common App. It's going to be, certainly we're going to include stuff in your counselor report. So it's not just a laundry list. Your essay is not meant to be a comprehensive accounting of your life. You want to keep your focus narrow. More on this in a bit. Unfortunately, you guys, it's the tyranny of the word count. You are limited to 650, 650 or 625, John? 625 or 650? I can't remember. It's 650 where it used to be 500. So it's got to be very, very, very short. So you got to get right to the point and tell a story in pretty compelling detail. While your college essay should present you your very best and flawless writing, it is not meant to be an exercise in stilted, overly formal academic prose. Ironically, despite the pressure on this essay, and actually I should say these essays, because again, most of you are going to need more than one, it's imperative that you relax and write in as genuine a voice as possible. Again, Your essay is not meant to present you what you feel is an idealized version of a college applicant, one certain to appeal to the admissions officers of your particular school. You can't and shouldn't hide from who you are. Embrace yourself and put that self forward in the best possible light. Audience, we always think of audience and purpose when we write. The folks who read your essay spend much of their lives reviewing application folders when they're not on the road promoting their particular college or university. They're stuck in an office somewhere reading applications, selecting out those who seem promising, and then discussing them in committee with fellow admissions officers. They read literally thousands of application essays. As a consequence, in a given year, they're likely to read hundreds, if not thousands, of essays on the same or similar topics. While it's impossible to avoid duplicating large themes, all these essays are going to boil down to, 4 or 5 big themes: how you overcame a challenge, how you changed as a result of experience, these kinds of things. And they're all going to be pretty. People value community. People are persevere. They got stick-to-itiveness. People are they're a loyal friend. They're intellectually curious or something. These are all going to be kind of the big ideas of just about all the essays they read. What makes it unique is that you're telling a story that only you can tell. It's possible to offer a fresh take on these themes, provided you write about what no one else can write about, which again is you. Below are some randomly selected comments about college essays offered up by those who read them for a living and who have developed 5 key attributes of a successful college essay. Get personal. Personalize your essays as much as possible. Generic essays are not only boring to read, they're a waste of time because they don't, and these are actually quotes from admissions people, they don't tell me anything about the applicant that helps me to get him to know them better. A personal epiphany, tragedy, life change, or earth-shattering event is not essential to a strong essay. True, these topics often tug at heartstrings and therefore get more notice, but I've read essays about family vacations, a garden, a grandmother, even a pen that I thought had been fabulous. You don't need to be a gay Asian activist to get noticed. It's through the application essay that the admissions officers reading your essay will feel they've truly gotten to know you. You must develop your own voice and tell your story, not the story you think the reader wants to hear. Be yourself. Details, and we'll see this in Orwell's essay. Details provide the color, the spice, the life of the essay. Ground your essay in the particulars of your experience you're describing. Be specific. Offer concrete examples to support each and every general observation. Be unique, be different, interesting, funny. Applicants should not be afraid to go out on a limb and be themselves, even when that means incorporating humor, getting a little controversial. They're often so afraid of making the correct impression that they edit out anything that would help their essay stand out. They submit a safe essay that is in reality sterile, monotonous, and deadly boring, not what we want. Be honest. After 15 years of reading hundreds and hundreds of essays a year, you develop an amazing ability to see straight through the bull. Accentuate the positive. This is not the time to be humble, but don't expect your reader will tolerate undue hype. And finally, and this is what we want to focus on here, tell a story. The applicant should never begin an essay with grand proclamations about the nature of man and the universe. Tell a simple story and let the reader make inferences from it. Make sure that your essay is readable. Don't make us work. Give your essay momentum. Make sure that the parts work together as they move to a point, carrying the reader along. Don't bore us. More often it's the monotonous style and not the subject matter that makes the essays dull. Write to impress yourself first. If you genuinely enjoy reading your final draft, chances we will too. And these are the 5 elements of a good essay, something that grabs readers' attention: simplicity, realism, sincerity, and surprise. Then there's a bunch of stuff here that you guys can go through on your own, which I'm not going to read through. This is a fairly long document. It does have, you'll remember we did the, and I didn't have a chance to sit down with you guys because this damn coronavirus, to go over your self-reflections, because oftentimes, but go back through and look at some of the things you highlighted in that self-reflection, see if there's anything there that would, has the seeds of a good story that you could tell in your essay. These are old Common App prompts. We'll look at some other ones. These are exploring you guys can go through, if you're really stuck, what the heck am I going to write about? You can look at this brief history of you, read through some of these prompts, maybe actually do some free writes in response to them. There's a whole bunch of them here that you can do on your own and search for a topic. We don't need this. We'll look at prompts here in a second. What you're looking for is generally something that has it's a story that has an implicit metaphor that you can make explicit partway through your essay. I always think of who's that kid who went to Williamstown? Paul's son. Can't remember. Who's the director of Terry Foundation? Paul Major. It was who? Which was the Vincent? No, Victor. It was Victor Major. Sorry, it was a few years ago. Victor Major had a great essay, super detailed, lots of description. Put us in this scene. And he was driving with some buddy down to some big irrigation ditch down by Grand Junction or something. And the essay, he loved to kayak. He's a pretty hardcore kayaker. And he was going to kayak this ditch. And the thing about the ditch is that, there's no eddies. There's no way to, kind of get out of the ditch. Once you're in the ditch, you're in the ditch and you're going. And of course, the whole metaphor there, he wanted to basically present himself as somebody who was able to commit to things and to see them through. And there's no greater metaphor for commitment than dropping your playboat into a ditch that runs straight and running the whole thing. So we're looking for a little story like that. That's kind of what we're looking for. We're also, the first batch of essays I got from the previous group, which were great for the most part. A lot of them were young. Keep in mind that if you're writing about something that happened to you in middle school or even freshman year of high school, we need to ultimately bring that forward. So what are some of the prompts that we have here? Let's look at here's the you don't need a prompt. I've got the Common App prompts located here. Essentially, the prompts are designed for students rather, who don't really get a whole lot of counseling, who don't have access to Mrs. Lavender, to me, to your other English teachers, who can't get a lot of help. You can write about anything. You can tell any story. And this personal narrative is not the only way to approach the college application essay, but it tends to be the most efficient and most successful. We'll talk about other possible approaches. I mean, it's possible to write an argumentative essay about a particular topic or something. They don't tend to be as much fun to write or as much fun to read, but that's an option we'll explore next fall. But this, for example, is the CU Boulders writing supplement. Again, 650 words, Common App 650 words too, which is nothing. You're looking at about 2 pages typed and double spaced. So these are super short. In addition to the Common App application essay, you're required to submit a CU Boulder writing supplement at the University of Colorado. No two buffs are alike. We value difference and support equity and inclusion of all students and their many intersecting identities. Pick one of your unique identities and describe its significance. Now, again, this is not where you want to write about, I'm somebody who's able to foster community and bring people together. You want to tell me a story that shows me that. This is what they mean by show, not tell. You are going to have a moment in your essay where for a sentence or two, you're going to step back explicitly and say something like, it was then that I realized how much I value bringing other people together and building a shared sense of community. And then you're going to go back and finish out the story. And maybe that's Brooke sitting there, trying to gather these adult poets together in what is it, Talking Gourds or something. Let me show you the... CU, where are the, where is, nope. Let me share this. Here's Common App essay prompts. But again, you don't have to be directed by the prompts. I want you guys, first thing is, okay, what's a really cool story I could tell that has a big idea? And you go at this 2 different ways. You can start with a big idea. One of the things that, Bella wants to get across to colleges is that she's somebody who perseveres, that she has this stick-to-itiveness, that she doesn't give up. Like, great. So what's the story she could tell that will show that quality? Or conversely, she could start with a story, something that, whoops, why is Riley showing up at 8:43? Oh, well. Hey, Riley. Um, the other thing, you can go the other ways to start with a story. There's this hike I took up the gorge once, and this is hiking the gorge is a perfectly, um, a fine topic for an essay. Bella was just talking about taking some hikes over the long weekend. But then she wants to figure out what big idea can emerge out of that story. Maybe, again, it's a difficult hike, it's persevere, you're summiting your first 14 or something. Or maybe it's how her love of nature has informed her life, growing up in Telluride, this unique place. Or maybe that gorge is this narrow trail through this beautiful place, but somewhat confined. As much as she's loved growing up in Telluride, now she's ready to, get beyond those box canyon walls and explore the wider world or something. That's the big idea. So these are the kinds of things you're thinking of. You can look at these Common App. Where are they? Whoops, sorry. Here's the prompts, but this is the prompt I always look at. Share an essay on any topic of your choice. So it's wide open. They give these things and they discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth, or reflect on a time you question or challenge a belief or idea. And, but less, students have a background, identity, interest, or talent, but it's so meaningful they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If it sounds like you, then please share your story. So you don't even have to worry about these prompts. You can write about anything. Believe me, if I or Mrs. Lavender read one of your essays and we say, this isn't going to work, then we'll try. And this often doesn't work. Often, these are essays that, this year's seniors. I can think of many, many essays that they took through one or two or maybe three drafts and finally decided, this doesn't seem to work. Let's try something else. It's an essay that I, as a teacher, feel I can't have too heavy a hand with. I can help you, but unlike an essay that you might be writing on Kurt Vonnegut or something, if Kendall's still there, I'm not sure if she is. All I see is her name. But instead of, if she's writing an essay on Kurt Vonnegut, hey, Kendall, then I'll say, you need to do this. You should change the sentence like this. I'm not going to do that so much. I'm going to point out what's working well, and tell you to keep reworking the rest of it. Oftentimes, this last batch of essays I got last week from the other group, there were a lot of them where it wasn't until the bottom of the second page that they actually figured out what they wanted to write about. And that's fine, because that's, boy, Lila, that's fine because, those first 2 pages aren't a waste. Those first 2 pages are what got you to figure out what you really want to write about. And writing is often, especially preliminary drafts like the ones we're working on these 2 weeks, are often exploratory, You're just exploring your idea. Ian Forster, the British novelist, once famously said, how do I know what I think until I see what I say? So let's see what you say. So that's pretty much it. Now, there is that George Orwell story. This is an optional assignment. I'd like you guys, I like this. This is it's an essay called A Hanging. It takes place in Burma. We now call it Myanmar. But it tells a story. I'd like you to read that story. And those of you who want to will meet with me at 8:15. And I know this is early, but it's not that early. It's not that early for Miley. What time is it in Czech Republic, Miley? Yeah. I missed you. You didn't unmute. That's okay. Anyway, it's not as early.
It's 4:50.
It's 4:50?
Yeah.
Wow. See, yeah. So Miley gets to sleep in. Anyway, can you imagine having a shelter in place in the Czech Republic? It'd be rough.
What?
No, I just made a comment about how you have to shelter in place in the Czech Republic. Anyway, so on Thursday, here's the idea. Just to be clear, I will post this recording on our junior SEM page later today. So for the 7 or 8 kids who weren't able to show up, or for Riley or Lila who came in a little late, if you want to, they can watch this. The idea is that you'll try to write a draft of a 650-word essay that's a personal narrative that tells a story, that you'll upload that to me through Schoology, or if you want to send it as a Word attachment on email. Google Docs does not work very well with me, but we can try that as well. And then what's going to happen is next week, okay, on Thursday, I will meet with whoever wants to at 8:15, and we'll just spend about 15 or 20 minutes, it won't be this long, 15 or 20 minutes talking about the shape of that George Orwell essay, what we like and what we can learn from it, and how we can maybe use it as a model for this first draft that we're working on of a personal narrative. And then next week, we will not meet as a group, as a class, but I will meet individually with those of you who send me a draft by Friday. I'll read these drafts over the weekend, I'll mark them up, and then I'll send you a copy of my edits. We'll pull those up together and spend 15 or 20 minutes just conferencing on that one essay. And that's pretty much it. That's all we've got going for these next 2 weeks. It's not too onerous. You guys are stuck inside. You're probably getting bored. Probably played all the video games, you know. Oh shit, maybe I'll write an essay. This could be fun. So that's pretty much it. Any questions? No, yeah, no. Okay, all of you, Henry, Brooke, River, Bo, Riley, and Lila, and Landon, and Morgan. I think that, Ms. Kimball is she's been bummed that people are logging on and not turning their camera on. And again, if you look as bad as I do, as scruffy as I do, then, it's not a big deal. See, Lila looks great. There's Lila. Are you in a tent too? I know.
No.
I know. I'm living in a tent. Anyway, so that's it. Go get to work. If you have any questions, you think of any questions, let me know. Those of you, and I don't have a list for group B in front of me, but, text people who weren't able to show up, like Liam and whatnot, and tell them to watch this video and get started on their own essay. And
Liam
what's that?
Liam emailed you. His Wi-Fi's down.
Oh, okay. Great. Thanks.
Yeah.
So no worries. Yeah. So get work on that essay. Have some fun with it. Explore some topics. If you're really, I don't know what I'm going to write about, go ahead and look at that part of the college essay workshop handout that's on Junior STEM that talks about, generating ideas. But I bet you all have a pretty good idea of a story that you want to tell. So let's start with that one. Let's see how it goes. I will meet with those who choose. This is an optional meeting on Thursday. I'll open up a Zoom at 8:15 during second period. I tend to follow the bell schedule. I'll open up a Zoom and we'll talk for about 15 or 20 minutes about Orwell's essay and how it provides a pretty good model for the essay that you guys might want to write. And that's pretty much it. All right. Go out there. It looks like it's actually, if it warms up, it might be a nice day. So, we got early release, which is kind of funny, but anyway.
Thank you, Lavender.
Sure. We'll see you guys later. Have a great rest of your day. And I'll see those of you who want to join me on Thursday. And then I'll see you all individually next week. So long.
Thanks, Lavender.
Bye, Riley. Riley and Lila, you can just watch the video once I post it. I can't post it till I run down to school because the internet here is not beefy enough to handle it.
Okay.
All righty. See you guys later.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
So long, Miley. Bye, JP.
Bye.
Bye.